Nothing is perfect. Life is messy. Relationships are complex. Outcomes are uncertain. People are irrational, said Hugh Mackey. Relationships have their crests and troughs. It's important to pass through both of them together. And so, once upon a time, it was really a salacious joke when the things that made you fall in love with someone started to become the things that you grow to abhor in that very someone. What was the problem with love? Why should it not stick around? Why did it have to be so slippery, so undependable? Alok and Shubhra had tried everything to keep their marriage together, but nothing seemed to work. No amount of counseling or interventions by loved ones. Alok wanted space and thought Shubhra was too controlling, and Shubhra wanted him to be responsible. Space did not mean behaving like a bachelor and forgetting that he had a wife at home. I suggest you guys take a holiday. Stay with each other, away from the pressures of an everyday life. You might rediscover love, Nana suggested to the both of them. Shubhra's grandfather had been the only non-partisan member of the feud that was brewing between the two of them. More out of respect for him and less out of hope, they decided to take the holiday. Shubhra chose a lonely town in the southwest of England. Alok would have preferred London, but Shubhra reminded him that the idea was to be together. He agreed. In the various leaflets that crowded the quaint reception desk of the old Victorian hotel, Alok found one that screamed, "Visit the haunted lighthouse." His eyes widened with excitement. This was going to be a fun place after all. "You must be out of your mind, Alok. I'm not going to visit any haunted lighthouse," Shubhra cribbed. "Come on. We're supposed to do the together thing. That's why we are here. I promise to take you to the sailor's market tomorrow." Alok gave her best boyish smile, and Shubhra gave in under the protest. It was midday when they got to the lighthouse, and lack of visitors gave the tourist guide nothing better to do than to feed the seagulls. He was more than happy to show them around at a fat discount. The guide explained to them the legend of the lighthouse as they made their way up the rickety wooden staircase. Her name was Julia. She lived in the town, a young, beautiful lady. They say that her lover was a sailor and went away on long voyages. One stormy evening, she received news that her lover's ship had been sighted on the horizon. They say she waited, candle in her hand, for her lover's ship to come into port, but as the morning came, she found that the ship had hit a rock in the storm and gone under. She was devastated by the news that she threw herself off the lighthouse and fell to her death. A lot of people have seen a woman with a candle on the lighthouse. Alok was fascinated, and Shubhra equally disgusted. "We haven't come all the way from India to hear this horrific story," she whispered into Alok's ears. Shubhra booked a table for two at a charming little restaurant off the pier. It was candlelight and romantic. It did not go well, though. Shubhra wanted to talk about the relationship, and Alok wanted to have a drink to celebrate the togetherness. There was no togetherness, Shubhra reminded him. Alok was quick to retort to that. That was because she had to control him. Why? Why could he not have a drink? All hell broke loose. Shubhra began to cry and walked out of the restaurant. Alok decided to stay and drink. He was going to do exactly what he wanted, and no one was going to tell him otherwise. Now, it was past midnight. Alok was walking back to the hotel when he chanced upon the lighthouse. He stopped in his drunken stupor, wondered if love like that really existed, where you would jump off a lighthouse and kill yourself. All he could see was Shubhra jumping at his throat. It was at precisely that moment that he saw her, with a candle in her hand, the spirit of Julia. She was looking at him from the lighthouse window. She was beautiful, dressed in an early Victorian gown. It was a clear night, and even from such a distance, he could see the sorrow writ large on her face. He stood paralyzed, unable to move, and then he saw her fall off the lighthouse right in front of his eyes. The candle blew out somewhere mid-fall. Alok wanted to scream, but his scream remained stuck in his throat. All he could do was throw his arm out in horror, watching her crash to the ground and then disappear as the waves crashed all over her, becoming one with her lover in the watery grave. Alok staggered back and sat himself down on a milestone by the side of the road. He did not realize when the morning came. When he got to the hotel, he found Shubhra waiting for him. She had been crying and looked most anxious. She came charging at him, crazed. "Where the hell have you been all night? And why have you not been answering the phone? I'm just sick." And then she stopped. She'd come close to seeing the expression on his face. There was deep anguish. Something had jolted him out of his everyday reverie. "What is the matter, Alok?" Her voice grew soft, and the concern had a touch of affection mixed in it. Alok and Shubhra stood at the very spot that Alok had stood the night before, watching the lighthouse. It was a cold, foggy night. The road lay quiet. The last car had passed them an hour ago. It was past midnight, and there was still no sign of Julia's spirit. "You were drunk, Alok. You could have been mistaken," Shubhra whispered. Alok shook his head. "No, Shubhra. She will come, I know, I believe." Shubhra sighed. "Ghosts don't exist, Alok. There is nothing to believe." "There!" Alok whispered loudly. Then Shubhra saw her too, candle in hand, looking at the two of them, waves crashing under her. Then, like the night before, she threw herself off the lighthouse. Shubhra screamed and buried her face in Alok's jacket. When she looked back, Julia was gone. Only the waves remained dashing at the shore. They stood there for a long time after, as the fog approached them from the sea. What we believe exists, and what we don't believe exists too. Its existence doesn't change based on our belief. Alok whispered. "Like our love," said Shubhra gently. "Yes, if we believe, then it hasn't gone anywhere," replied a teary-eyed Alok, as the fog enveloped them in its loving embrace. Alok and Shubhra kissed like they had never kissed before.